Alright, so today we're doing an SMR clutch install on the CFMOTO PAPIO. This is how I'm going to be installing it. It is a little janky because it's laying on the shifter right now, even with the rear cage. So maybe a front cage would be helpful to do this, but just be careful laying it down. The reason I did it this way is so I don't have to drain the oil. Otherwise, you're going to have to drain all the oil out before you do all this. If you do it this way, you don't have to do all that. This bike has 300 miles on it, and I've already changed the oil 3 times. So first thing we're gonna do, take this cover off, and take this hose off, and then pull the clutch cover. Before we even start to do that though, here's our clutch plates right here, and then our steels. I already have the springs installed. Before you start doing this, you're gonna wanna start soaking these in motorcycle oil. So you're gonna want a little plastic bin about this big. Make sure you're using motorcycle oil. And you're just gonna want to do that. And let the clutch plates soak in the oil. So I just bent it out of the way for now, just by loosening all the bottom bolts. You could take that off beforehand, it'd probably make it a little bit easier. Now we're gonna need 8mm to take out all these bolts, and then a 10 for these 3. But really you only need to take this one off. And then get them off. Alright, so you're also going to want to pull a clutch cable. Turn this the opposite way. Down. You can take all the bolts out and mark where they go, or you can just leave it. You're not going to want to mess up this gasket like I did last time. So we're throwing this one out since I got a new gasket. Alright, so if you do rip your gasket, you can just take a plastic razor blade and clean up this surface. But next we're going to be taking off these bolts. And you're going to want to do them just a little bit at a time. And going to start that in. You might want to take something and cover these holes up because these dowel pins can fall down in there pretty easily, and that is a huge headache. So I'm just going to take a piece of paper towel. Honestly, I would use something better than a piece of paper towel, but at least this will keep me from accidentally dropping one of these bolts or springs down into the motor. So now if you were to just do the springs, the SMR springs, you would just replace them. Your OEM ones would be here, you put your new ones in, and you go about tightening these back up very slowly. We're going to be doing the clutch plates, which are right here, so we actually have to take this cover off. I highly suggest getting some containers. That way you can keep all your stuff organized. So now before we take this off, this plate off right here, we're gonna mark it. So all I've done here is taken a piece of Sharpie and marked right here and on here, so I know that these are lined up after. So you have a grooved and flat washer under there. The grooved one will go on the bottom and the flat one goes on top. Now we can get in here and start pulling these clutch plates out. So these are what you will be replacing. So now we can start installing our new clutch plates. So now it's time to start installing the clutch plates, and you're just gonna wanna make sure you put it all back together the same way it came apart. So we'll grab our first one here, and you can see it does have the grooves on 2 of the outer lips, I guess you could call them. And we're just gonna make sure that these go in the exact same hole they came out of. So I did, when I made a mental note when I made this marking, because I knew it might not stay, that I marked the one next to the solid. So your grooved one goes in between the solid and the other grooved little lip there, if you could see that. So one clutch plate, and then you do a steel. Alright, so I have my new steels right here, and these don't really matter which way they go in. they just fall down in, and then you can do a new one of those, slides in, new steel. Just make sure you're aligning those grooves on the actual clutch plates. The steel just should not matter. Alright, so all the clutch plates are back in. Now we can start to reassemble. Make sure you don't lose the washer on there. You can actually hold it from this shaft to keep that from falling out. And realign it. It'll drop in. And then you know you're good. So, like I said, I marked it next to these so I know this is in the right spot, regardless that this mark got wiped off. So now we're going to put the clutch springs back in. So you can just lay them all up in there and then start to tighten up these bolts. So with all the bolts in, you can now take a screwdriver, which you might prefer so you don't strip them, or you can just take an 8mm, and you're just going to want to do a little bit, a turn and a half maybe. And you want to keep going around because this will give it an even pressure going down and keep it from getting kinked up. So you're going to do this until the bolts stop. Now you don't want to impact these on. You literally just need them hand tight. Now you should use a ratchet to put these on all the way, but I'm just using it right here. You just want to barely tighten. You can see my hand's not even at the end. You just want them about this tight. So I'm going around, giving it a little. You shouldn't have to crank these down because basically that'll make your clutch disengage the whole time. You don't want that. So make sure you pull this paper towel out. And now I'm just going to clean up this face and put the clutch cover back on, which can be kind of tricky, so I'll show you guys some tricks for that. Alright, so before you even try to put this cover on, you need to make sure that the teeth on this shaft right here are facing the left, right? So if you have them facing this way, the cover will not go on right. So make sure that they're facing the left like that, and then put your gasket on and make sure there's no kinks and that everything's going to go smooth, and then you can bolt it all back down. Alright, so here I have a used gasket and my teeth are right, so now the cover should just go on straight. Everything's all tight, ready to go. So once you get the cover on, before you bolt it up, you need to make sure this clutch arm is in the right position. By simply pulling it up, you can move it to the next one.